Welcome to the Fancy Thinker. I'm Jared Quartermanch, and today we are going to be talking about Assassin's Apprentice 2, number 2, as I compare it to the book Assassin's Apprentice. So this is Comics versus Prose number 8. And of course, this is the 8th issue of the Assassin's Apprentice adaptation from Dark Horse Comics. Scripted by Jody and illustrated beautifully by Ryan Kelly, with some artwork by Jordie Bellaire, color artwork. And so I wanted to start this off saying this issue has a couple of added things and subtracted things from the book. Nothing major. Once again, the adaptation continues on in an exemplary fashion. It's one of the best adaptations of a novel that I've come across in comics. Right off the bat, the first words in the first page are "I slept well," and that is not in the book. I think it was just something added to start off the issue because the last issue ended like right in the middle of chapter 9, right in the middle of a paragraph, really. So when that happens, you need some sort of starting point to get you going. And the words "I slept well" were it. And then we get right into the action as a servant wakes up Fitz. And there's also another added line that says, "Unfortunately, I was not witness to what my words had wrought." And that is also a reference to the previous issue and the previous events at the first half of chapter 9. Once again, added for effect to relay information for a month's wait in between issues. And so I have no problem with the adapters adding those words, because when you have that long of a wait in between the story, you need some sort of grounding as you get right into the next issue here. So the dialogue is taken right from the book, where the servant wakes Fitz up and tells him to get going. And so that's, once again, very well done. They, on the next page, page 2, we get some more dialogue. We show the artwork is showing the action very well here. Whenever there's a skip in dialogue, the artwork shows Fitz's actions that are described in the book perfectly well, as we get to the end of this page, where Fitz goes into the room, asks what's wrong. He's expecting Lady Time, the woman he had to take care of in the last issue, but he doesn't get her. He gets instead Boy, that familiar term, Boy, from Shade, in a dark corner of the room. That's what it says in here. Instead, the artist decided to put Shade in a dark silhouette in the foreground, which I thought was very clever, because you get the light shining on Fitz, which Fitz is who we can see clearly, and who, of course, Fitz sees himself clearly as he's narrating this tale in the book. And Shade is that dark silhouette. We know it's Shade just because of how it looks. The artwork pulled it off perfectly. The next page is interesting, because this is page 3. As we move on to page 3, literally the page 3 is this big splash page of a picture of Shade with some dialogue, and then a little box at the bottom corner that literally takes up like not even half a paragraph in the book. It's like 4 or 5 lines, and that's all the dialogue we see on that page. And so we move right on to page 4, which is there's a lot of explanation in page 4, but it equals 1 page to 1 page, and so we get a lot of exposition here in the exposition boxes, but most importantly, we get a little history uh, where Shade received a message, and so we're getting that nice red tone panel there that kind of shows the history of what Shade's talking about. It's recent history, and it's dealing with the Red Ship Raiders, and so we also get some information that Shade is giving us that is concurrent with what is going on with Shade, between Shade and Fitz, and they use a sepia tone for that. And I thought that was a pretty cool choice, pretty cool color choice, in order to convey different times of and different facets of information given to the reader. And so I like how they did that a lot. And then we move right on to page 5. Once again, this pretty much takes dialogue and exposition from the book um, directly onto the page. It's just pretty much word for word. Um, I love how right here Fitz is saying something, and he says, "I don't see we have a problem with that." In the book, it says he snorted. Like, I don't have a problem with that. I don't see we have a problem. But you can see that in the artwork on his face, the way his face is drawn, it has that look of, we don't have a problem. It's very well done by the artist once again. Um, Also, we have descriptions of the map laid out and the candle lit, and we also have some more of that concurrent events being told in exposition in a sepia tone to indicate that it's not around them, it's somewhere else that this is happening. And like I said, the map spread on the table, the candle lit, and it's just beautifully done, beautifully portrayed by the artist, exactly what's going on in the page in here. The next page, we move on to page 6. There was an interesting omission from the novel, which I thought was pretty key. Um, but the adapters decided it wasn't needed to convey the story here, and it says it's Fitz asking Shade, "Were you here because you didn't trust me?" And Shade saying, "A fair question, I suppose, but no, I was here to do something else," and blah blah blah. Whether or not we believe that, that's up to us. And Fitz doesn't speculate further in the book, and so um, we don't have that in the comic, and I wonder if that's was left out for a reason. Other than they do have to adapt this and fit it into a certain format, so that's probably why that was probably the biggest reason. They got to pick and choose. So there is a lot of information, description about them leaving and about them getting on their horses and stuff like that, which I understand why they skipped all that stuff. And they go, so we get a lot of page turning in here, a couple pages before we get to the end of page, this is page 6, right? Yeah, page 6 in here, in the comic. And so um, we have a nice description in here of of Shade looking a little shaky, and Fitz having to help him off the horse. Of course, in the comic, they portray that as they put these like little shaky lines around Shade and around his dialogue as he's speaking to indicate that. And what I liked about this also was the coloring to indicate it's at night. It has that kind of bluish tone to indicate dark. Once again, very well done by the very well good choices by the artistic team. And the the next page, what I like about that is this goes right into chapter 10. In chapter 10 in here, we get our usual like little prologue there of the chapter of Fitz of the future writing this stuff down. And so that is not mentioned at all in in the comic. It's totally left out, which is fine. Um, and then the dialogue. It's funny because they added it was just some guy waking Fitz up, and they added "you boy wake up." We're in the novel. It just says your master wants you. And it doesn't have that "you boy wake up" line. So they wanted to emphasize still in the comic that he is still referred to as boy, um, as a reminder of his age and place and what have you. Um, and so I like the artwork in this page because there's a lot of there's quite a few panels without dialogue. That's just artwork portraying the description in the books, and it's very well done. There's they describe the map laid out on the table, describe the boat and the makeup of the room and the boat up there, and even Fitz getting to the chowder and then chomping on it. Um, that's all very well done. That's a pretty cool room for a boat, I gotta say. Uh, I kind of like that. But we move right on to the next page, and um, we go. So let's see, page 7 to page 8, and there's a lot of description in the book about the next few events. Most of that is skipped over to just background details of the artwork, and then we move on to some dialogue, which is mostly at the end of the section in here, taken word for word, and very well done. All right, so page 9, there's a lot of description in here, what they're doing, but then once again, they boil it down to like a paragraph in here, where once again they're traveling at night. The colors again give us night, and then you get a good exposition of how Fitz is enjoying his time following Shade around instead of having to make decisions on his own. So then we go right on to page 10, where there is a lot of artwork just giving us the scene of this kind of almost abandoned village. And you can see it's still nighttime, and you still got those blue shades, and you get the abandoned village there. You have the dialogue between those two is uh, is pretty straight out of the book here, um, and they're they go to right over to page 11 here, where there's a bunch skipped in here, a bunch of descriptions skipped in the book, but the main thing that gets pointed out on this page is that Fitz couldn't feel the villages. And in the artwork, it's really, you have to really look here at the villages, and they have this kind of just, they're just gray. They have this an outline. They're just gray. And that's pretty interesting choice because they're kind of non beings to Fitz, and it that ties into the next page beautifully because the next page we get Fitz's explanation for his skill, which is his magical ability, kind of, and it's his skill, and we get this big explanation with all the greenish kind of tones behind it, indicating his how he feels his magic and how he feels his skill, and how all his life he was able to detect people coming and knew they were there because he could feel them. And the biggest thing we get out of this is that he does not feel these people, these grayish people, these outlined people. Why is that? We don't know. But he's just trying to describe it. And um, so that was, I thought that was a great page in the book, in the comic, to display what Fitz is describing in the book. It was very well done. Very cool. And so that was page 10, I believe. And then we get on to page 11. And I got to wonder, because here is where something was a little off. The artwork beautifully just displays what they're describing in the book there. But then see this dialogue box here? This line, which you can't read, I'll read it to you. What is wrong with them? What's gotten into them? In the novel, it's Shade who says that, but the dialogue is pointing to Fitz in the comic, and I gotta think that that's a mistake, and because this is the point where Fitz is, wondering, explaining to us why he can't feel these people, and so I gotta think that's a mistake on the letter, and they pointed it to the wrong character in the comic, and I hope they fix that in the collection whenever they do that. Um, so yeah, mistakes happen. It's after 8 issues of adapting this excellent book here, you're bound to make at least one mistake, right? So there you go. That's it. And that's hopefully the only one we ever see. Um, and then it goes into an explanation of lots of explanation about them taking off, getting out of the village, um, and Fitz leading the charge because of what he's not feeling from these villages, and Chade being the one this time who's questioning us. So you get a little reversal of roles there, and I thought that was really cool how they did that. Um, and there's a lot of explanation in the book, but um, the the artwork once again serves its purpose in describing and showing what's happening. So they get out of the book. They get on the road, and there was an encounter with some more folks on the road, but these ones Fitz senses that somebody's ahead, and they show that in the little green. That's his skill. That's the artwork showing his magic, that he can sense somebody's coming. The interesting thing here was that um, at the end of page 16 here, uh, that somebody yells out. Oh, that's 15 actually. Somebody yells out that they look at Shade and call him the Pocked Man, and they, it's kind of like, a witch. You're a witch, But this guy's thinking Shade is the Pocked Man, which is some sort of legend that is a legend of death and disease or something like that. So that was pretty cool. Um, we get the sense that the uh, the villages are going to pick up their pitchforks and chase these guys out of town. So they do. Um, the In the book, the description, they you get a lot of description of the horses being kind of tired, but in the comic, it's just them racing off in the bottom there. That was enough to portray what we needed to know. And the the next page is all dialogue, and it's taken straight from the book, and it's talking about the legendary harbinger of disease and disaster, the Parkman. And Shade's like, you think I'm 100 years old? No, I'm not that ancient. But he does go on to explain that these kind of rumors are going to be spread all over the place and leaving behind relatives who scavenge in ruins. And that is once again displayed in sepia tones as something that could be going on concurrently with what they're doing now. Also, on the next page is displayed this image of what could be the Red Ship Raiders, and what they're up to right now. So there is definitely stuff. It gives us a sense that there's just other stuff going on in the world that besides what's happening right now between these two. Shade then falls off his horse, and there's a little bit of dialogue between them on that page, and that's all done very well. As we see Shade stagger, he gets off the horse, and they kind of stop there. And the next page has a lot of exposition. And that exposition is pretty much taken word for word from the book, especially from 2 paragraphs where they're talking about some of the history that's going on, some of the events that are going on right now, about the events at Forge, which is one of the towns, and the events they just witnessed at Neat Bay. And so that's all very well put from the book onto the page. And finally, he gets back to the inn, and he tells the innkeeper Lady Time's doing much better. So he's lying to the innkeeper about who's in the room. And the final page in here, page 20, is a quick conversation between Shade and Fitz, a final conversation between these two guys, because this issue has been pretty much the issue of Shade and Fitz talking to each other. And this is where finally Shade says, "You must be taught the skill, boy." So this is where he's finally saying that, he's granting the fact that Fitz has some magical ability. It's something that they really didn't take into account before. Even though Shade might have known about it, I'm not sure, but it's definitely something out in the open now. And it's definitely something that is Shade's thinking about because of the events that we all just witnessed. So I like how that was done. The last paragraph in chapter 10 in the novel is the last page in issue number 8, or issue number 2.2, of Assassin's Apprentice 2, number 2. It's perfectly matches up with the end of chapter 10, and it gives you a good sense of completion and makes you eager to want to get to chapter 11 in the book as soon as I get that next issue of Assassin's Apprentice from Dark Horse Comics. Once again, outstanding adaptation. I love seeing the little differences and the little touches that they put into the comic to really bring forth the excellent story in the books here. So that is Comics versus Prose number 8. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please like and subscribe below. And please be good to each other. Thank you.